Shutdown averted. At the last moment, FEMA finding spare change to avert financial disaster, saving the government from a complete shutdown. The government agencies somehow discovering $40 million extra dollars. And Tracy, you say if FEMA can find extra money, all government agencies can do it and help cut the debt. Why so?
Because, you know what, first of all, we're all doing it at home. We're all figuring out how to find extra money at home. So now extrapolate it out. And FEMA's a perfect example. And I'll tell you what, no one wants to, but you got to thank the GOPs and the Tea Parties for this, because all along they've been pushing and saying, you want to spend more? Cut in other places. And lo and behold, when push comes to shove and desperation sets in, you find the money you're looking for. I think other agencies really can learn from this.
Oh, well, but they're not really learning, Gary Kay. I mean, I tell you, these other agencies are still asking for billions more in funding. I mean, we're talking Homeland Security. They're looking for more cash. The Education Department, the IRS, DOT, they all want more money from the taxpayers. Should they get it?
No. Look, in 2008, our federal government spent $2.8 trillion. They're going to spend $3.8 trillion this year. That's $1 trillion more that's floating around. It's out there. These departments like deplete poverty because they know if they do, they're going to get more money from the federales, and we end up into this situation. We have got to go top down and say enough is enough. Every department should be cut 10–15%, and they'd still be in great shakes. This is just a scam on all these departments' parts.
You know, I think, Jammu, the FEMA example, I think is very interesting because, look, they operate on $35 million a day. I mean, they're a huge agency, but still to find $40 million, Jammu, it kind of gives the example to the rest of the country of like, oh, if we kind of manage our books, we can find extra cash. Maybe that's the new trend in government.
Look, I think that the Obama administration has been very clear and strong on directing agencies to not just, look for additional funds, to look at red tape and the regulations that are out there. He signed an executive order months ago for these types of reviews in the agencies. But we can't take the FEMA example and then just assume that that's going to apply across the board. And the reality is, if you find 25 cents in your sofa cushion, but you need $1 to do the laundry, that's not going to cut it. So we have to be realistic. Looking at, again, the FEMA's budget of $35 million a day. So finding that $40 million doesn't stop every single reason for why we needed the continuing resolution, and we have to fund these agencies. Yes, I know what you're going to say, Jonathan.
Let me just say, Jimmy, that's the whole point.
Okay,
but we don't want bridges falling down in this, so I want the Department of Transportation to get their money.
Boy, Jammu's here. Maybe I don't even need to say a thing. She's got my lines down exactly. Maybe not so much Jammu. Truth is that we don't need FEMA. You talk like it's an integral part of the Constitution. It's not. It was started in the late 70s under, guess who? Jimmy Carter.
Ask
and
the
like so many elements
Joplin,
of the
Missouri
government
about that.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Well, that's the whole point. If you believe that government's role is to help people in need, we're always going to have another bureaucracy. Their role is to protect individual rights. And FEMA, the Smithsonian, all these other bureaucracies with their hands out have no role in that at all.
John, I think it goes back to spending issues. The American taxpayer who is managing their budgets at home, as Tracy has pointed out several times on this program, is saying, hey, I can manage my budget at home, but you can't manage yours. You're asking for more and more and more funding. Enough is enough. And they've got a fair point, I think, here, John.
Absolutely, they have a fair point. Look, President Obama ran against President Bush for having 2 wars that were not funded. That was true. Obama now has 2 wars that are not funded, just like President Bush did, but he adds another one in Libya. Plus, he has a lot more things that are unfunded. On top of all that, there is not a backbone in Washington, D.C. You can do all these different things, but you've got to cut somewhere else. Imagine if Clinton and Gingrich had passed a balanced budget amendment in the 90s, what we'd be dealing with now. The world would be a lot better. That's what we need right now. You can spend money one place, but don't just add it on. That's a lack of backbone and guts by these politicians. They don't tell anybody no, and that's the problem.
Tracy, we're talking about, hold on, Tracy, we're talking about government bloat. I mean, I tell you, you might as well just eat a pound of salt with potato chips if you want to get as bloated as the federal government right now.
Agreed, but I mean, look, we're talking about FEMA finding money. They found it. Look, it might not be a lot of money, but it's enough, and it was enough to divert the shutdown. And let's, give them a hand for that, as opposed to poo-pooing the notion that it's never going to be enough. Look, it's never going to be enough. Our country is in so much debt, it's pathetic. My kids are going to be living with me for the rest of their lives at this point.
And look,
but it's something. It's a start, for God's sake. Let's not, let's not belittle that.
Gary Kay, it's 4 kids. I'm not saying that.
Look, It is not government bloat, it's government blob. It never ends. It goes from city to city and just grows bigger than bigger. I remember when in the late 70s when they started the energy department, their goal was to find alternative energy. 30 years later, nothing's got done. They're a big failure and they're bigger than ever and ever. No government business ever goes south. It always goes north, even if they do things wrong, even if there's no accountability, and it never matters. We need some adults that are actually going to do something about it. And I don't want to hear Obama's doing this and that about it. He's done absolutely nothing but expanding the government in percentages we have never seen in history in a 3-year period of time.
Well, we'll see what the next few years hold, everybody. Coming up, home prices down, mortgage rates